I'm going to go over a couple of tickers and give you some price targets for Wednesday. Hi, everyone. It's Dow on the Dow. I hope you're having a great new year so far. First up is Mrna. We ended the day at $112.50, up more than 13%. Congratulations if you've made some money off of this stock. The day's low, $99.40. The day's high, $115.68. Obviously, it started to crater after it reached the high, and we are no longer at resistance. This is where we are. Back to resistance takes us to roughly 117.87. Above that, at 3 standard deviations and another level of resistance and potential take profit area, 121.83 and 125.79. To the south side, back at the middle of the trend and support and a potential buy-in area, 109.95. Another level of support and potential buy-in area as well, 102.03, 97.94, and 93.98. I actually tracked this stock a while ago. Back on December 15th, I talked about it. There is a gap that I have been tracking as well. But on the 15th, price was at just $86 and a penny there. And we were at resistance, started to go down a little bit. When you're at this level and you go down to the next line, turns into support, and the next level going down turns into support as well. On the way down it turns into support, on the way up it becomes resistance. So we fell down, went sideways, move this out of the way, started to climb back up to resistance, didn't quite make it up there, but grinding sideways, back down. When we get back to this line, this is support, and didn't quite make it all the way down here and started to rip. Made our way with higher highs, and obviously some great news coming out for Mrna. But there is a gap to keep your eyes on, and this is the gap. What goes up must come down. Obviously, we are on a roll with Mrna, so we are not in the channel. We are not in the zone. This is to be aware of something that could come back and take us to the downside. Next one I want to go over is Mrna. We ended the day at $22.93. The day's low, $22.77. The day's high, $26.69. So we are here to the north side. Takes us to roughly 24.60, 25.77, and at 4 standard deviations and a potential take profit area and resistance, 26.86. If we get to this line, I will definitely anticipate a pullback as people lock in their profits and they take off. Now, the gap to the north side starts at $30.26, closes out at $30.95. We are not there, not in the channel, not in the zone, something to be aware of. But right now, we are tanking with Mrna, but there will be an upside. It's just we've got to go through a lot of pains right now. And the next gap down that I'm tracking starts right about at 15.05. We're not there, so I'm not even going to talk about it in depth, but just to be aware of. Right now, we got to get through these lines first, but definitely I will anticipate Mrna to stay within -2 and 2 standard deviations for a trade, a swing trade. And to the downside, the gap closes. Oh, well, let's take it. I got sidetracked. The middle of the trend is 22.34. The gap closes out at roughly, I think I marked it out once before. Let me see. No, 21.99 there. I might as well just mark that. It began at roughly 23.31. Support is at 2010, 18.99, and 17.77. You can see we were making our way up with some gaps. Oh, we've got this other gap I see. Once you start looking for gaps, they just knock you over. Even though it's tiny, I'm just gonna, for giggles, mark it out so that I am aware that price could get there. If I'm thinking I'm gonna buy in, I might just wait for a closure to slow my roll. If I get antsy and wanna jump in and shouldn't, just to wait for another leg down. Of course, it may never get there, but the potential still is there to go down even more. The next one, you know what? I'm gonna do Bitcoin really quick. I don't really like to do this one because, oops, it's a moving target. There we go. Now, right now, I'm just gonna lock it in, even though it's gonna change on me in 2 seconds here. Actually, in 5 minutes. 45,261. Let's just, okay, this is it. I'm gonna lock it in and not move it. I need to make this there. All right, this is the 5 minute to the north side. 45,592, 45,834, another level of resistance, 46,075. Potential take profit area. Profit area, profit area, profit area. Now, back to the middle of the trend, 45,102, 44,609, 44,374, and 44,126. The last time I talked about this stock, we were at, where were we? Let me take this to the 1 hour time frame so you can see. Oh, there we go. This changes the signals, your buy and sell signals. I marked out support and resistance on the 5 minute time frame here. This was the middle of the trend, 2 and -2 standard deviations. Okay, so when I talked about it, we were here, we went down, we were, let's see, from down here, this was resistance, fell down, broke through, this becomes resistance again, and couldn't quite make it there, just went sideways and back down to support, made our way back up to resistance, couldn't get up to the next level, and boom, support, potential buy-in area. Look at how it rested on this line too at one point at -2 standard deviations. Okay, and then look at that. Back up, so -2, the middle, and 2 standard deviations, busted through and then fell. This is resistance, fell back down, and we are going to retest this area. Now, just for giggles, I'm going to go back to the 5 minute. Actually, let me just show you very quickly the daily. My chart looks like a hot mess because I have marked this out many times in the past, but I've stopped. So we were in January there. So January here, and then we are back in January right here to basically just a little bit higher than where we were on, in January 2022. All right. That's a nice upward channel on the daily. Back to the 5 minute. What I'm going to do, stay on page. Wait a minute. Control R. There we go. Or Option R. Okay, just for giggles, I'm going to mark out, turn off my magnet because it makes my chart get wonky. That's that is the middle of the trend. 2 standard deviations and -2 standard deviations. All right, moving on. The next one's going to be Aapl. Aapl and, oops, I always do that. Aapl and Palantir. These two tickers will be a recap because I did this on Monday, January the 1st. Today is January 2nd. All right. When I talked about this on the 2nd, on the 1st, we were at 192.53. We were at resistance. What happens at resistance? People take their profits and they run. Of course, there was bad news too. So you could, if you never knew what was happening with the news and never watched the news, like I don't like to watch the news. I like to watch more of the business news or read articles on business. But if you didn't know, you would, by following this chart or doing your technical analysis, know that we are at resistance. And what happens? People take their profits. So it just timed out for bad news about a Barclays downgrade. And that doesn't bother me. I've been in Aapl for so long. I've gone through this so many times. I can't wait for this thing to go back into the 140s because I will load up. But not to say that we're going to get there. I'm just saying I will ride it to the downside and I will ride it to the upside. I've gone through dividend splits and made tons of money off of this stock. So it does not scare me when it tanks. That's my whole point. I do not fear this. Plus, the Apple car will be coming out. The phone sales might be down, but it will turn around. It might take a while. There might be better trades for you. But I'm in this and I'm not getting out. All right. So we went down. This is resistance, close enough. Back down to support. Didn't even make it there. Fell through. Busted through this line. That's the middle of the trend, the baseline where price likes to hang out and rest before going to the south side or the north side. But in this case, you can see it just ripped right through. That's not super normal. But we almost touched the gap to the south side here. All right. And then made our way down, back up, back down. Didn't quite touch here. But this gap, oops, touched right here. This gap to the south side will no longer haunt us. Thank goodness. All right. That closed out at 184.80, roughly. Was it one? Did I mark it out already? 184. Oh, I had it as 184.79. Close enough. I will delete that. This started off at 186.31. So this is the box that is no longer in play. That's the gap play to the south side. Right? So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this as well. Oh, I hate it when people say that. I hate it. I just said that. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to go ahead and do it. Okay, I just did it. All right. The next one that I will be tracking, I'll reset that. See how it makes this look wonky every time I reset my chart. This gap is still in play. Did we even kiss it? Nope, we didn't touch it. So this one will still haunt us. I think this one could close if we go down tomorrow on Wednesday, but we're making our way to resistance and then at resistance grinding down and then maybe hitting that and then making our way back up again. It's just not going to go all the way down without bouncing back to the middle of the trend for a trade, a scalp for you. All right. This gap is still in play. Did not close out. Meantime, we gapped down in the morning. So if you don't know how to mark this out, all you do is, I like to turn on the magnet, but make sure you turn it off later because it makes your chart look wonky. Things won't grab. So it went down. So yay, we've got a gap to look forward to the upside. I'll just move this out here because that way you could see it better instead of stopping it right there. This will gap up. I will change my colors. This is just for my quick reference. So when I look at this in the big picture, I know what went up, what went down. All right. So this is now 88.48 is where it starts, closes out at roughly 192.17. And then this gap, if we go up, this gap right here, oh, wait a minute. Yes, I'm sorry, this gap did close out. It closed right here where this gap opened up. This gap will no longer haunt us. This is done. Adios. There we go. Let me just mark that. Mark that. And I think there are many more gaps to the south side. Another one that starts right at about 165. We're not in that channel, not in the zone. Just wanted you to be aware of that. There is still a lot of pain to the south side if we continue to go down. Check the stock on the daily, the weekly, and the monthly, and you can see in the big picture where we are and where you need to buy in or get out if you're trying to lock in your profits. That took a long time. Next one and final one is Pltr. This is a recap as well. Oh, sorry, I didn't give you price targets. So for Wednesday, the middle of the trend takes us back to 186.81, that gap I just told you about. 2 standard deviations, 191.02. 193.29 and 195.48. To the south side, 183.68 closes out at 182.51, but basically that closure is right around -2 standard deviations, 180.23 and 178.14. Pltr. All right, when I talked about this on Monday, yesterday, we were at 17.17. I talked about this gap to the upside here. We went down. This is the middle of the trend. I need to move this out of the way so you can see it better. So then we flushed all the way down to -2, bounced on support just a little bit, and then back down to support where people bought the dip, back up to resistance, middle of the trend where price tends to just grind to the upside or to the downside, hovering around here, and that's what we're doing right now. All right, this gap that I talked about is still in play. We are not in this channel. From -3 down, don't expect it to fill out. Just follow it as it makes its way slowly down. This is a stair step down. It's just not going to be an escalator, continuously down or exponentially down. This is going to whip you around here. So I will extend this. So that's something we can look forward to. Another gap we can look forward to now to the upside. My magnet is turned on. I'll turn off my magnet because then I won't be able to get my pricing perfectly because it wants to move it. Okay. All right. So that is the gap that I think should close on Wednesday. I think that's doable. All right, here are your targets. Let me just take this back. You can see where this gap closed. See, we've been going, this is not a pretty looking chart right here that's going south. All right, reset that. To the north side, back at the middle of the trend, and in this case, resistance, potential take profit area, depends on when you bought in, 1670. The gaps there, 1706, 1726, and 1744. And then that gap closure up there to the south side, 1635, 1617, 1598. If you don't like to play gaps and don't want to see the gaps because it's distracting to you, for me, it's like a little magnet. It tells me I can anticipate the direction price is going to go. It's going to pull me in that direction. So I'm thinking positive thoughts here. We're closer to the upside than we are the downside. Fingers crossed, right? Nobody has a crystal ball. But you can improve your trades and the probability of hitting. But if you don't want to, switch your candle out, block out the noise of the candlesticks, and you will know that if you play to 2 standard deviations and -2, that typically is a safe play. If you want to be even more ultra conservative, you go from -2 just to the middle of the trend, and that's it. Get in, get up, get out. If you're going short, if you're up here, short it to the middle of the trend, get out. Get in, get down, and get out. All right? That does it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate all of you subscribing. And I will do a recap of the gap and go trades coming up very quickly. And you know what? No, I want to show you something really quickly. I just peeked at this, and the gap that I was talking about and the trade that I'm in, I don't know where I bought this. I bought it down here somewhere. But this gap is going to, fingers crossed, close out tomorrow, Wednesday. Okay, so once this closes out, I am going to sell out because all I did for this ticker was play the gap. So I will anticipate it to open there, close out. So my thing tonight I have to figure out is, do I want to set a sell limit? Because I'm not going to watch this. I'll probably be in bed when it happens or out the door. I'm not sure which one. So I could set my stop, my sell order at 35.80, 1 penny below what the price is, or 1 penny above. That's what I typically do. But if I'd like to get a little greedy, I may play it all the way to up here and cash out at 35. I don't like the 91. I'm going to go, if I do it, to 35.90. So that is my target probably, now that I'm talking about it. I think I'm going to get greedy. And then, was it? No, it's this one. That's, I hope to close out this Altria group too. Anyway, that does it for me. I'll recap the gap trades that I talked about for the week that I started on Monday for Friday later on and give you that recap. Thanks for watching. Bye.